Thank you so much for coming. For those who don't know me, my name's Marilyn Crew, and I'm the Economic Development Officer for the town of Neepawa. I'm here at the invitation of Helen to help us kind of go through the agenda that we're going to go through tonight. Helen, do you want to introduce your board before we go any further?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Helen Drysdale, and I'm president. At the back, we have Carol Gray, raise your hand, Carol, and Louise Ullman, Jean Dietrich, and Len Pritchard.
Thank you. So, a few weeks ago, Helen came to see Colleen Sanchishan, the CAO at the town office, to let her know that Helen and subsequently the rest of the board had submitted their resignations from the museum and asked for a bit of support to move through what would be next steps. So I met with Helen and Dean and set up this schedule to have a community meeting tonight to give you the chance to hear about where the museum is at and what the plans might be for this museum moving forward. I just want to thank you all for being here first and foremost. It shows a great level of support in the community for the museum to have you here. And to say that there will be a time for questions at the end of the presentation that Helen's going to do. So at that point, so first of all, Helen's going to talk a little bit about the background and the history of the museum.
Okay. I'm just going to stand. The talk of the first museum started in 1967, and it didn't come to be until 1976, and they rented 2 rooms from the VCC. When they wanted to rent more rooms, they were told that they didn't have more space to rent, so they had more items than the 2 rooms for. So there was a rumor going around about the CN property. The CN was going to leave the station. So they were able to contact CN and make a deal, and eventually, it took a couple of years, but they got the railway station in 1981, and then it opened in 82. So they thought they had lots of room in this railway station. Little did they know they'd be running out of room. Some of the first board members, just to give you an idea, were Verla McLaren, Pat Trail, Murray Huxley, Murray Elliott, Ken McClelland, Evelyn Vivian, and Dorothy Babcock. So as the rooms were filled and more work was continued, other board members, and I'm missing a lot, but just to give you an idea. Bill McLaren, Dudley Lee, Graham Hunter, Jim Baker, Jim Hunt, Margaret Salter, Don McGilvery, and Alan Drysdale. We were fortunate quite a few years ago to receive quite a large amount of money from Dr. John Poole's family. Dr. John Poole was a doctor in Neepawa from 1900 to 1952. So his family left us quite an estate, and it was added on to by memorials. And eventually that was turned over to Beautiful Plains Community Foundation, and that money, we get a portion of that money every year to help operate, to pay the hydro bill and the telephone bill and that kind of stuff. So we belong to the Manitoba Museums Association, and they're very helpful. They run courses for us. If you have a problem with water or insects or different things at your museum, a specialist will come out and check your museum for you and help you with that kind of thing. So it's very good to be on that. We own the old fire truck in town. It was purchased 1942 for the airport. For the flying school, and later on the town got it, and eventually it came back to Neepawa with Ken McClelland. So,
And it's out in the...
It's out in the new garage. Yeah, we built a garage for it, and we have the Franklin 1904 fire wagon. And it's not a horse-pulled fire wagon, it's pulled by men. So it's quite a unique piece, so anyway. Since COVID, we don't get the amount of visitors that we used to do. It's slowed down somewhat, but we're still ranging around 1,000 people a year. So when you consider we're only open for 4 months of the year, we are open off-season if it's not in the wintertime, if by appointments. Like 2 weeks ago, I had people from Ontario and some from Alberta, one guy from Florida. So yeah, we are open if families do come.
And the schools.
And the schools, yes. I just finished 100 grade 8 students coming through. And tomorrow I have my 5th class of grade 8 students. So it's always a pleasure to have the school students coming through. Over the years, we've done a lot of fashion shows. Like we had the Ed Sullivan show. They used to do reenactments here on the grounds as well at one time. Car shows, tractor shows, and different fundraisings. Since COVID, we haven't done any big fundraiser at all, and we kind of need to gear into that again, so it does draw a lot of people in. So yeah, this year we had 1,000 visitors. Just a second here, can't read my notes. We only had 12 from the States. We often get a lot more from the States every year. But we only had 12 this year, and about 350 plus from out of Manitoba. The rest were from Manitoba for the most part, so, the building is in good structural shape. There was a new roof put on 14, which is, I guess, it is aging, but it's still good. We had the bricks were painted and they don't breathe, so it wears the bricks out. So with the heritage people, we applied for some grants. We got grants to strip the bricks. It was done professionally, to strip the paint off the bricks and then they stain them. They don't look quite the same as the original, but they're safe. They repoint them and whatnot, so, and get them all nice and stained for us. Most of our lighting has been replaced. We try to paint a room every year. This year we didn't, but we're always cleaning up a corner, redoing a corner, putting up new displays and whatnot. Our rail car out there, it was closed in 18. We were broken into. And a cold January, -35 day, somebody broke into it and stole about 3/4 of the stuff. They stole everything of value. They knew what they were looking for. They pried open the glass tops on the cases, and yeah, they took anything of value basically. So we've been collecting again, and it was supposed to be open this summer. It was such a busy summer with other things, and we had a lot of children come through. We had a lot of children's programs, and it didn't quite get, it's almost there, but it didn't quite get ready to open again, so anyway. We do have security now. At the time that happened, that was January, at our January meeting, we planned to put in a security system, so. Unfortunately, the RCMP didn't want us to advertise it because they were hoping that the people would put stuff for sale, but when I talked to some of the other railway museums and organizations, and they said no, someone's got it, they knew what they were getting, and they got it for their own private collection, so anyway. So we hope to have that open next year. What else do we need? Yes, we have an agreement with the town for, the museum owns the building, but the town owns the land we sit on, so we do have a lease with the town. And the town's been good to us in different ways, so. I'll talk about that in our next go. No, I'll talk about that now. I feel it's so important to have this museum here. I get the school kids coming through. It's not just the school kids, but really the school kids are what amaze me. They have no idea. I have stories from when I was a little girl, because I lived in the last part of Saskatchewan that got electricity. So I remember the wood stove and all those things. But also, I worked at a nursing home, and the people told you stories of what it was like when they were little. So I have stories about when Mrs. Nickhart came to Canada and how it was for them. And I can tell the kids these stories, and they're shocked. They're shocked. No running water? You know, well, what did they do? And I said, I said, you were running water. Your mom said, run out and get me a pail of water.
Yeah.
And they have trouble understanding going out to an outhouse or having the chamber pot underneath their bed, and how cold their homes would be, and the things that you didn't have, like they
No iPads.
no iPads, yes, they just don't get it. So when they come through the museum, there's lots of things we can show them and different stories to tell them. So I feel that's so important. It kind of brings the kids what it was like for their grandparents or their great-grandparents, you know. I feel that's very important for them. And the questions they ask. And our pump organ got played the last 4 school tours that we've had here. I think your daughter played the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I asked if someone can play the piano, and then I set them down at the pump organ. And it's amazing how much the kids enjoy it and whatnot, and the different things. We have a lot of things in this museum too that they can touch. And normally there's a bunch of play clothes that sit there. It's all a bunch of old clothes, hats, purses, and whatnot for the kids to try on. And they cannot get over zippers and dresses. Like, what is this? And tight-fitting dresses, and you know, everything's more form-fitted. So I think it's so important for this museum to keep going, especially for our younger generation, for them to know what it was like for our forefathers when they came here. So, good.
So,
Oh, I'm on again,
you
am I?
are.
Oh, well.
Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I do have some copies of something I had done on Facebook too. If anyone's not on Facebook, or some of this was in the newspaper. By the way, I'd like to thank the newspaper for covering us so well last week. I really appreciate that, and NAC TV too. It's been very helpful for us. So, I'm just going to read a little bit of this off to you. How has the lack of volunteers impacted the museum? The museum building and artifacts are well cared for and in good sound condition. The displays have been cleaned and updated and are looking great. We've expanded programs for the children, and we have visitors from around the world. We have successfully applied for provincial funding and grants every year, and use those funds to both maintain the building and recruit some amazing summer staff. The museum is in currently a good space to move forward. We're financially okay. However, saying that, we need more volunteers as well as board members. We need retirees sharing their expertise, students earning service hours. This summer was our first summer to have 2 high school students wanting hours for points for credits at school. And they were amazing. They really helped out, especially with the children's program. And they put a whole different spin on us old people, you know. Just what kids their age or younger would like. And that was quite amazing. They had night at the museum. It was never in a nighttime, but they'd shut off the lights. They had things for them to do. They'd take their phones or flashlights, and they had to go around and find stuff and whatnot. And the kids thoroughly enjoyed it. So
I was hoping that was going to be good because I watched it and wanted my grandkids.
yeah, the kids really enjoyed it. So, and it's so nice to have those volunteers. And the one girl got her full 110 hours of credit.
Oh, wow.
So she's very pleased. I believe she's wanting to become a doctor.
Oh, fantastic.
So anyway, we need history buffs indulging their passion. So many times I just need someone to look up some information or do some research on an item we might have or something, you know. And just plain ordinary people. When I say volunteers, many of the jobs need done maybe only once a year, and that's quite true for a lot of things. It's just a one, if you're a volunteer, often it's a one time a year. It's not just about dusting shelves, although sometimes it is. Sometimes we need painting done, or saddles cleaned. Our saddles need cleaning. Oh my goodness. Never quite get around to getting that done. So they need cleaned and oiled, or shelves put up. That's another thing, just shelves. I need someone to put a post in for the water spout, the downspout. It's too long, it's not stable. I just need someone to put a post in there and get her done, kind of thing. So lots of times it's just for, the volunteer thing is just, what is your expertise? That, you know, we can use you, there's a job for everyone, trust me. So, so we need board members, and we need volunteers, and that's very important. We had a lot of volunteers at one time, but our volunteers have aged out. Unfortunately, I visit several of them in the nursing home. I've gone to several other funerals, you know, and a lot of the other ones have health issues, so. My carpenters this year, 2 are waiting for knee replacements, 1 had open heart surgery. Like, it was just, the list just went on and on. So I find that very difficult. So if you have someone that will do just even a one-time job, it would be great. But we do need board members as well. So, yeah. I would hate to see this museum closed because of lack of volunteers and board members. I think it's an asset to our community. I know 1,000 people a year doesn't seem like a lot. We used to get a lot more than that, but it's still a reasonable amount. So many of the people that come from out of province, they stay at our hotels, they eat our foods, they do other things in our community. So, yeah, so I think it would impact the community as well, and the schools. You know, we get the grade 2s, the grade 6s, and the grade 8s that come through, and once in a while we get other classes too. We had a class of Mennonites come through, we had a class of Hutterite children come through. Yeah, I think it impacts the community if we don't have this and to help teach our history, our local history. It would be a loss to lose it.
And we don't charge it, there's no admission.
Yeah, we have admission, we don't have a set admission, we just have it by donation. And I do tell the kids that, because a lot of the school kids that come in June, they want to come back in the summer and they want to do things. And I say, you know what, just come back. Just come back. Because if you are with not good financing, you know, who can afford $10 if you've got a big family or in financial need kind of thing. So we'd rather see the kids come back and paint some rocks or just do whatever. So anyway, I think that's
okay. Thank you, Helen. Your passion shows. You're still talking about we and I love that. Part of my preparation for this meeting was to review the bylaws that are currently in place for this organization. So I will say the museum is incorporated and it does have charitable status. So whoever's stepping up on the board would need to understand that those two pieces of paper are importantly in place. The bylaws, however, are from 1976. So
they belong in the museum.
they belong in a museum, absolutely.
Yep.
So I have reviewed those bylaws, and according to them, we haven't been operating under them. that the affairs of this corporation shall be managed by a board of 10. I don't want that to frighten anyone. They haven't been operating that way, but what this means is whoever steps forward needs to be looking at updating these bylaws as their very first order of business. So, in order to make sure that we're fulfilling our bylaws. So, board of 10, it also says that, so vacation of office, so you can leave office by notice in writing to the corporation that they're resigned. And so that has formally happened, so the 4 board members have formally resigned. However, there's a loophole that I didn't tell you about, Helen. It says, a retiring director will retain office until dissolution, so if the corporation was dissolved, or adjournment at a meeting in which his successor was elected. So you're actually in place until we find a new board, okay? No, that, it will be one of 2 things. Either there is a new board elected at the AGM, which will be on the 4th of November, or that will be, notice for that AGM will be sent out as the final AGM for the corporation. So that's where we're at. No pressure. It does say in here that if their number is reduced below the number necessary for quorum, which should technically be 6, the directors can summon this very meeting. So a meeting to seek out new directors for the corporation. So that's in here, and a lot of other words which you're free to read. There is outlined, there is to be a president, a vice president, secretary, and treasurer chosen from the board of directors at that very first meeting after the AGM. And it actually says in here, Helen, you'll be happy to know, no person shall hold the office of president for more than 3 consecutive years. So, knowing moving forward that you're writing bylaws to meet modern, you can actually change this so that, you don't end up here for decades at a time. These bylaws also allow for the board of directors to appoint a manager or a general manager, so all the work that Helen has been doing could potentially be done by an employee of the museum. That's allowed within these bylaws. And you can have committees and all sorts of other things. There's a copy here for anyone who's interested in those bylaws. But as I said, they will need to be updated and refreshed in order to truly reflect where the museum will go in the future. What else did I find out? So the AGM has been set for November 4th. This puts in place a timeline for new board members to step forward by October 21st because notice for the AGM requires 2 weeks. So there will be no call for board members tonight, so you can just keep on breathing and smiling. But if you are interested in stepping forward for the board, it would need to happen before October 21st. You would need to let Helen or another one of the board members know. In order to ensure that, I would say we need 4, just enough to have enough for officers. Probably a board of 6 would be a good place to start. We're not expecting there to be a board of 10. That's not a typical
That's
size.
from the 70s.
Yes. That was a very different time.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's where I will leave my part, is that if this is something that you believe is what you want to help take on, we would need to know before October 21st so that we can put the appropriate notice in the paper for the AGM. So, having said that, we'll open the floor to questions, and if there's anything that people want to know.
One question I think it'd be good for everyone here. In terms of being a board member, what type of sort of commitment? Essentially an hour meeting once a month, sort of, what would that sort of entail?
Our meetings usually last about an hour. I mean, you can make them as long as you want, but if you keep the chit chat out, an hour is all you need, kind of thing. We never have a meeting in December. I mean, that would be up to a new board too, but we don't have meetings in December. There's nothing pertinent to have then, so. So it's not necessarily a big commitment. But one of the things, you hopefully have time to do other things with the board, or have your group of volunteers. Lots of times, each board member had their own crew of carpenters, or some of the ladies had their own crew of cleaners or whatever, you know, so it's not necessarily a big commitment, but it is a commitment, so. And I'm certainly, I do have a timeline of when things need to be done. I have a long list, and I'm so willing to work with any new board members, and I would like to volunteer. I don't want to be a board member anymore. I want to do a few things that I haven't been able to do, so I don't want a commitment, but one of the things I would love to be able to do is the school tours. I really enjoy the school tours, and there isn't much I haven't liked on this board except grants. Computers and grants just don't work. It's not my strong suit, so.
How many grants a year would you write?
January we write the Young Canada Works for our student grant, very important. And then you kind of decide what you want to do. Like, are you wanting to put new lights? What needs to be fixed? What do you foresee? So whatever you decide, then you write a grant for that. We have Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. We sometimes apply to that for smaller items. It just depends what we're doing.
You have to still apply for the museum grants. Do they still give you funding, the museum?
Yeah, the Manitoba Museums, yeah, we get an operating grant. That one we do in the spring.
Yeah.
So you have one in January for your student. I go through Young Canada Works, they're really a pain. Honestly, their system doesn't work well, but they pay a lot of money. I usually get 80% of my student. So the hair pulling is paid for, kind of thing. So there are other grants out there. I've never applied for them, just the Young Canada Works, because I like the amount of money they give us for the whole time. It's not just for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or something. So, and then the operating grant from Manitoba Government for Museums, that's, you can do April, May, and June. And then other grants, it depends what you're wanting to do, like when we restripped the bricks or built a garage, or, you know, so it depends. If you're not planning a big project, you don't have to have a grant, kind of thing.
Manitoba Arts and Culture and Heritage, you've gotten grants from.
Yeah.
before.
We've been very, very successful in grants. I've only been turned down once, and that was this year. And I was glad we were turned down, actually. We didn't have time for that. But, yeah. And all my old grant forms are on the computer, so you can just kind of change the words a little bit, kind of thing, and whatnot, so, yeah. But I'm certainly willing to help any new board, as much as they want or as little as they want me to help, so. Other questions?
You caught my attention when you said a manager could be hired. Is there funding in place to have a manager, or the cash flow between the foundation exists?
I don't know. You know, we've never looked into having a manager. The board's always kind of taken over. We do have a bookkeeper. When my husband passed away, he did the books. Before that, Dudley Lee did the books for years. So we did get somebody. Now she is retiring from this position after the annual meeting, simply for personal reasons. I don't know what a manager would cost, because we pay our students $17 an hour this year. What's a manager going to cost? I don't know. We do have money in the bank, but that's kind of for projects,
Like
you know.
projects and
upkeep.
operating, right?
Yeah, you know, yeah, we've tried not to use that for for
And so
those.
it wouldn't have necessarily have to be a manager, but there may be a capability to hire, because today you can't get volunteers, you almost have to
Yeah,
pay people.
yeah.
And if there's an opportunity that could,
I don't think there's grants to hire a manager though, so that's where your fundraising would come in.
but you wouldn't have to
Or-
maybe call it a manager though. I mean, because when you say
No.
manager, I mean, that's,
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a possibility.
yeah, that is.
Not
hidden
many
in-
small
not hidden, but-
museums do that because of financial. I go to the different museum meetings in different parts of the province and most of them don't, the smaller museums don't have a manager, so. But it's certainly something that could be done. And I imagine if you really wanted it, you could probably swing it financially. Yes.
Would mean the board would have to do more fundraising, though,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
That's-
basically that's it,
It's
and,
that, rather than volunteering here, you're volunteering at a fundraiser that you may or may not make lots of money at.
yes, Ken.
Pardon me, two questions. One is, does the museum have any debt?
No, not at all.
And second question for you, Marilyn, you well know that organizations seem to choke off when they go to try and rewrite their bylaws. Do you have that skill, or is there someone, and I don't know them, to have the skill to do that? Because when you put a committee around the table rewriting bylaws, you're gonna be there a long time, in my experience.
Yeah, in my experience, so for example, the Chamber of Commerce board just met this week and redid their bylaws, but we didn't start from our old ones. We knew what was in there and what we needed to change, and we found modern bylaws and edited those.
Okay.
So there would be opportunity for the museum to talk to other museums that have updated bylaws and, you know, potentially start from there. You don't have to start from scratch,
Yeah.
but there may be ways to what I call R&D, rob and duplicate. As long as they're doing what you want this museum to do, right? So as long as you have an understanding of where you want the museum to go, then, which is how these original documents were done. There was actually a membership, and then the board was elected from the membership of the museum. Like, none of that happens now, so.
I'll make a short statement, and I think that given the value of the artifacts in the building itself to the community and to the history of the area, and given the fact that you don't have debt and presumably have a little bit of money in the bank, I think there's a tremendous, I shouldn't say opportunity, but I think there's a good chance here to move forward. I mean, this building and this organization, you know, is built on the backs of people who have been around for a long time, and some of them obviously aren't available anymore due to health or passing on. And the problem is, to bore you with a short story, when I retired as mayor in 2014, people said, okay, you can't retire. Well, I just did. And I'm now 77, so I'm not likely to take on a whole lot more duties other than what we're doing now with our business. But I said to people, I've been here since 1971. I was put on a committee, actually, a subcommittee of the Yellowhead, early in 1971. Because I was 23. That's how many 23-year-olds have you got on your committee? Well, none. Well, how many 33-year-olds you got on your committee? Well, none. That's how many 43-year-olds? I think there's a couple of them in their 40s as the rest of the and it's a long told story around the community, but, and I don't have the secret to it, I don't pretend to. But the younger people have to see a value in what's going on in the community. And I know 50 years ago when I came here, it was just, I was just told, you're gonna be on this committee by my boss. And that don't happen anymore, not here as much anyway.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So, once again, November 4th is the AGM, October 21st. But most of all, first of all, Helen, I want to thank you for your years of service to this museum and to our community. I want to thank you all for being here. It makes me happy to
Yes,
look out and
thank
see
you,
people
thank
in
you.
the
New
room.
faces,
Yes.
yes.
Please go away and think about what part you might be able to play in the museum moving forward.
Did you wander around to pass around a sheet, put people's names on that were here?
Uh-oh.
I know most of you, so it's okay. And I do have quite a few of your numbers. but-
And phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
We had talked about having a guest list at the door, and Helen said that wasn't something that she wanted, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you are interested, just, you know, contact the museum at Beautiful Plains Museum. We're on Facebook and all the rest of it, so give us an email, give me a phone call at home. Think about it, and as I say, you can put as little or as much time into it as you can, but the more people you have, the easier it is, so. And thank you very, very much for showing up and having interest in it, so.
Is it premature to ask for volunteers as opposed, or including board members?
Well,
Oh,
I
no.
just don't want to put anyone on
On
the
the
spot.
spot.
Like no board member sign-up sheet on the table and everyone's watching to see it. But I mean, certainly if there's
Oh, yeah,
interest
let
in
me
being.
know, I'll write
Maybe
your
they
name
could-
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Helen
is-
will take your number.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I'm good at. I'd rather not be a board member, but I will be a volunteer.
Yes. Yeah, and if you have enough volunteers, it really is quite easy for the board. At one time, it was very different. There was more board members and just about everyone had a job. But they all have their set of volunteers too, kind of thing, so. Ask my grandkids, when they come here in the summertime, guess what they're doing? They're volunteering at the museum. They actually like it for the most part, so.
Do you have a list of volunteers?
Not anymore, we did at one time, but as I say, most of my volunteers,
You've gone to visit them.
I visit at the nursing home or the cemetery or, you know, it's just the way it has been.
Yeah, so it's weak
Yeah,
on the
and I
volunteer
need,
side.
I need some young,
Yes.
know how to put a shelf up, it's so frustrating, like, just little things often, it's just a little thing, or I need
He's looking at you,
drop
Ken.
off. Yeah, and researchers too, we're always looking for some more information on an item, you know, just to have that time to do it, and, yeah.
I do have a question, sorry if it's too late.
No,
Do you guys have like a digital archive at all? Has anybody ever applied for a grant or volunteered to do any of that for you?
We have scans of most of our pictures, but we don't, no, not truly,
No, just
Yeah.
curious, yeah.
yeah. That would be great. I'm not a computer person, I don't like computers. They,
Students at BU will do that now too.
oh,
They just did that all at Farnborough.
oh, wow. That's good to know. Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah.
you can find them all when you're the board member, you can.
yeah.
What did he say? I'm half deaf. I need to borrow his hearing aid. You're talking
Well, I have a question, sorry.
Yes.
I know that the Beautiful Plains Archives is also doing some work like researching and doing, I don't know if there's anything that's
Oh,
you've been doing in coordination with them.
we try to work together, we share things all the time. Yeah,
Okay.
we're not against each other,
Oh, just,
so.
okay.
My husband was the one that started, was the first person that, at the archives, and he did that until he passed away and Norma took over. And he was also on the Beautiful Plains Museum board, so, yeah, things are shared, it's not, yeah. We don't compete. I don't feel we compete at all, so we work together. Yeah. Anything else at all? Thank you for coming out. If anyone wants to be a volunteer, let me know. I'll sign you up. They're a board member. And hopefully we'll hear from some of you in the next 2 weeks. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.